I always knew that I wanted to do something different, something that isn't really following the trade paths, being like, a teacher, a doctor, a policeman, everything that, your kids dream and talk about in school. I always wanted to do something different, build something that will make a difference as well as bring some value. However, I am building this business on relationships. Because the relationships will then give you value rather than, having everything in your bank account.
It's that old saying, like people before profit.
It was me and my mom driving around in a 180-pound Citroen C3 cleaning the properties.
Yep.
But then gradually over the years, we sort of, moved towards better setup, more professionalized setup, and you've helped me put systems in place to be able to produce our own systems. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And that, if I hadn't done that, then I would probably be still in the same place where I was when we first had the conversation.
Hello and welcome back to the Built Different podcast with your host, Stephen Pettigrew. My guest today is Wojtek Maslanka. Now, Wojtek is my best Polish accent. He is one of my business partners, and Wojtek and I work closely together in his business to help him grow, scale, and eventually we're going to try and exit that business in the next few years. And I thought it'd be great to bring him on because he started that business back in 2016 and got through all the startup and growth phases and eventually reached out to me and the team at Monopoly to help him take his business to the next level. And you'll hear a lot about what that involves as we go through the episode. So without further ado, let's get into the episode with Wojtek. So Wojtek, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you on, mate. How are you?
Good, yeah. A bit cold, but still good.
So we started the last podcast saying the same thing. It is a wee bit cold in this room, but thankfully we've got some heaters from the cupboards, so we're starting to heat up a little bit.
Yeah, it's getting there, definitely.
Yeah, I think outside at the moment as we're recording, it's like -5 or something.
Yeah, the roads are freezing, but luckily, yeah, it's okay. It's still drivable.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah.
This time of year, honestly, it's not my favourite time of year, I've got to say. Which is why I'm jumping on a plane next week, get some heat.
Yeah, I mean, I like winter and I like snow, but when it actually comes at the correct time of the year, I like snow when it comes during Christmas time.
Yep.
Don't really like snow in March because that's like too late for it. It's meant to be heating up, getting sunnier, and you'll be able to go outside and enjoy the weather a bit rather than being stuck in snow, half melting, half freezing.
You don't know whether to have a jacket with you or not yet.
Exactly, no, yeah. So I feel for you. I know why you're getting away. Not quite there yet, but maybe in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Keep thinking about it as well. But I don't think that my wife will actually love moving over there. However, she herself said that she cannot see herself being in here like until she's 60, 70, 80 years old. She'll want to move.
She want to move to a hot country? Yeah.
Not entirely hot country, because she's mentioned that my parents love Spain. They will move to Spain. However, it's too hot for my wife. So we're just kind of in two minds. She fell in love with Cornwall and she wants to move in there, but the current prices are just
expensive,
ridiculous.
isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So to kick off, Wojtek, I should mention for full disclosure that we're actually business partners.
Yes.
But I thought it'd be really, really great to get you on because you've had a successful business for a number of years now based in Edinburgh. Property business, property maintenance business and a cleaning business. And before I even got involved in the team at Monopoly, you were already successful, and I think you've got a lot of value to share with the audience. Both in terms of how you've started the business, grown it, and obviously what the future holds. So I wanted to get into all of that, but before we get into all that good stuff, because that's what people really want to hear, how did you get started in business? What was, I always ask this question, when you were a kid at school, was there any kind of entrepreneurial traits that you were showing that eventually led you into business?
when I was smaller, when I was still in Poland, I didn't really think about anything like that. I always knew that I wanted to do something different, something that isn't really following the third paths, being like, a teacher, a doctor, a policeman, everything that your kids dream and talk about in school. I always wanted to do something different, build something that will make a difference as well as bring some value. So it's not like you can talk about running a chain of corner shops. It's there, but it doesn't really bring any difference. And after I finished high school, I went to uni, and that's what I got with business studies. I did touch a lot, although theory and practice, like, they very rarely mix together, and it's a completely different world to what I am seeing now versus to what I was taught in the uni. So it got me intrigued and slightly more interested in actually opening up myself and then doing it. However, my upbringing and everything else, the way that I am running it is slightly different to what maybe not the best way some people would say. However, I am building this business on relationships, because the relationships will then give you value rather than having everything in your bank account.
It's that old saying, like, people before profit.
Yeah, so that has actually worked out quite well for me in terms of the business still being profitable, still operating after a number of years. However, the relationships that I have built with different people means that I am able to always find a solution to any given problem. So I'm not really tied into one sort of like a place or one group of people that I can always go to and find any kind of problems, solution to the problems, which I think is quite good in terms of where I saw myself at the beginning of this business versus where I wanted to be. Still not quite there where I want to be, but getting there slowly, step by step, gradually will be there.
You've grown organically, and you've taken the right steps all the way through your journey so far. For the audience then, so let's talk a little bit about the business. So if you could explain what the business is and what you guys do, that'd be brilliant.
So first of all, it was myself and my mum that we started a cleaning business, and then after a little marketing campaign, namely Gumtree, we managed to get a contract with a growing management company in Edinburgh, and after that we joined forces with the two other directors, so it became known as B&B Clean. And there was 4 of us. We were growing the business. We were getting, all types of clients, B2B, B2C. We were growing from there. And then when COVID hit, we had the time to actually slow down, look at the business, find out what it is. And it turned out that vast majority of people that were working for us were in the wrong positions in terms of they do have skill set to be doing more valuable things, more things that will actually bring business to another level. So we decided to explore that and then go into rebrand to B&B Property Services. So we started doing a little maintenance, refurbs here and there. We did, offices. We started not only cleaning, so we introduced whole spectrum of new services to the business, and then after the COVID, sort of slowed down, and then we were able to open up back up. We started marketing for those services, and that's where essentially it grew into what it is today. The 2 other directors, they have went to explore different paths because they sold that management company. So they said that they don't really want to be dealing with hospitality anymore. So they moved somewhere else. And I was doing it on my own, but then essentially found myself, quite large skill gaps and knowledge gaps. So that's when I reached out to Jamie, who then passed your number, and that's how obviously we got
talking
together.
Yeah. I think as you grow a business, and I wanted to ask you about this, there's different phases, isn't there? So there's a startup phase, which I'm guessing for you guys would have been really, really intense. Like I'm guessing you were probably doing a lot of actual graft during that time.
And then pretty much everything. We started as it was me and my mom driving around in a 180-pound Citroen C3 cleaning the properties. But then gradually over the years, we sort of, moved towards better setup, more professionalized setup. We started investing back in the business as well to have the proper business setup. So it was no longer, after a while, it was no longer run, off the couch in the living room. Although there are still some days that I am still doing this. However, it's,
as a business owner, sometimes you need to do it from the sun lounger, or you need to do it from anywhere in the world, don't you?
That, and I was never afraid to actually work as well. So if there is something that needs to be done, and for whatever reason, being a sick call or whatever, I'll jump in and I'll help. However, I'm trying to focus on different side of things so that we can still grow this business beyond Edinburgh and then further into the UK market, as well as anything really what we come up with. But let's one step at a time.
So at present then, how many staff do you have, roughly speaking?
We have about 80.
Yeah, so it's a good size company.
It's split. We've got about 70. No, we've got about 60 cleaners, 10 staff that are working in the depot, organizing cleaners and running the day-to-day stuff.
Office and management.
Yeah, and then we have I think right now, it grew actually again, so it's maybe more than 80 staff, but the other team members are the people that are like joiners, electricians, plumbers, and they're basically looking after working on the projects that we get pretty much on a daily basis right now.
Yeah, it's pretty unique what you guys do, because you do actually offer services to pretty much any business, so any office, any restaurant, any hospitality business. You can do not only cleaning for them, you can keep up with the maintenance, you can do refurbs, you can do all sorts of stuff, and that's quite unique. What made you did you realise that was a little gap that you could exploit, or was it just that it happened by chance?
It sort of happened organically again, because we've been in Edinburgh, we've been operating since 2016, and there was always little companies here, there, everywhere offering what we do in terms of cleaning, but then they wouldn't provide the linen, or the linen that they would provide was already washed so many times that it became grey. So people were coming into us to basically have that hotel feel. Bring the hotel feel into their own property. We've teamed up with the likes of Fishers. We've teamed up with the likes of Unico. This is the parent company of Scottish Fine Sea Soap. So we are able to provide more premium product than there is on the market. And from there, it started to become very clear very quick that all the property maintenance businesses that are there, they aren't really guest orientated. They aren't really hospitality orientated, because they will come in, they will do the work, and then they will just leave. But then, if someone is in Edinburgh in a flat for say 3 days during, Fringe, then they don't really want to be spending their time that they have in here, like waiting for an engineer to arrive, waiting for someone to fix whatever it is that needs to be fixed. So with us, we have access to the calendars, so we can always get the work in between the guests, so that the guest disruption is kept to the minimum. So that's what's really important for our clients as well, because they can still continue operating, but we get the work done. So we just recently started a refurb on Monday, and the owner has a property in Edinburgh, and he wants to upgrade it because it was old magnolia walls and flooring that was put down probably in early 2000s. So wanted to get that upgraded. January is always a dead month. So just the first lot of guests left after New Year. And then we've got 3 weeks to complete the project until, again, new guests arrive in February. So we never actually had to cancel. The owner never actually had to cancel any guests, never had to move them. It's like all, little blocks
sequenced.
Yeah, exactly. Put it in together. So we are aiming to finish, I think, 2 days before the guests are arriving, and then a deep clean will take place, and the guests will check into a brand new property. Again, with us, it's everything is kept under one roof, so we know when to send the cleaners, we know when to send staff to do certain things. So if we do a refurb and the guests are arriving, say, on the 2nd, then we know that the work has to be finished by the 30th. Then the deep clean will take place 1st, 2nd, finished before the guests arrive. So it's everything is being discussed under one roof with one person, rather than, I've got, these guys will come in and they will do flooring. I now need to organize a painter. And then after they finish, I now need to organize cleaners to come in.
You can just speak to you guys and get it all done.
Exactly, yeah. So it's basically a one-stop shop.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a great business model you've got, which is one of the reasons we obviously loved to work with you. When it comes to the properties themselves, I'm going to guess you've seen some horror situations. Yes. Anything pop into your head? Anything that you think, oh my God, that was? I see some pictures on Facebook and LinkedIn from you guys and other cleaning companies, and there's boxes and boxes of stuff lying in the living room. There's rats running around. There's pee and shit all over the toilets.
Yeah,
is that a common thing you see?
Not with the Airbnb properties. I shouldn't call it Airbnb. I should call it short-term let properties. It's no longer the case. We find that majority of the guests in short-term let properties are respectful. The properties that we service, they're all looked after by the either owners, management agencies, or ourselves. So there are never really like any big issues that crop up, and the guests are always 99% respectful. Right. We in short-term let properties, we never had a horror story this year. That is a bit different when it comes to someone that reaches outside and says that, by the way, my tenants have a problem because their heating isn't working. And, that's when we come in, and that's when not necessarily rats running around, but that's when you see like property has been last renovated in probably 90s, and, it's still in the same condition. It's just getting worn and worn. Like there was a lot of... one of my pet peeves is when we go into the property and we see someone wants to, say, renovate the bathroom, and we will go in, we will start the work, and there's like a spaghetti of pipes under the floors, because throughout the years, whenever someone came in to do a new job, they never stopped and to think, hang on, this doesn't have to be here. Let's just remove it for the, it's not going to cost any more money, but let's just keep everything nice and neat. And then you open up the floor and there's like, pipes running from 60s, 70s, 80s, and, no one's really touched them. And then we end up, clearing this so we can actually get the work done the way it should be. In terms of the like, rats and that, it's Edinburgh's pretty common with rats, so you can find them anywhere.
Yeah.
I remember it was pre-COVID. We had a mouse on a 5th floor property, just randomly chilling in the property. Yeah, it was a 5th floor, so it had to get in there somehow.
I heard this stat one time that like you're only ever, technically speaking, only 10 feet away from a rat at any one time. It's like in the UK, it's so
yeah, it's
terrifying.
It was a common problem, especially in the COVID when they stopped collecting waste throughout the city. They definitely came out in numbers, and you could see them like
multiplying.
Yeah, but it's ever since everything opened, it's getting better. You do get that odd one here, there, everywhere, like you do, but it's not a nightmare.
So most business owners struggle to get past the first couple of years when they start a business. They then also struggle even further to create something that's sustainable and is running. So one of the things I really admire about you is that you've got through that startup phase, you then got through a certain level of growth, and then you started to realise there was certain skill gaps. You've mentioned it already, that sometimes you need to bring others in or consult with people who've got a different experience and can maybe look at things a bit differently. And that's one thing that I think most business owners should recognise. When you're flying, when you're doing great, amazing, but there's always something you might be missing, and sometimes you need an outside perspective for that. And obviously we then started chatting, and we've worked together now for about a year, I think, Wojtek, and it's been great to see the evolution, not only in you but the business, in terms of what we've been working on, whether it's growing the team, whether it's growing your personal brand, the business brand, putting systems in place. One thing I will say about you is you already had a good level of systems there, and a good base to work from, which most of the time when we work with people, they don't have that. So that's one thing to mention. I'm going to guess though, during that, what is that? That must be 9 years now in business.
2016, yeah. 9 years. Yeah, it will be 9 years in May.
Yeah, 10 years next year.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
People will see the fact you've been successful and all the rest of it, but I'm guessing there was a lot of challenges during that time. Is there anything that springs to mind that was particularly difficult? Was it trying to get staff? Was it cash flow? Was it not knowing if you're servicing the right customers? Was it customers was the biggest problem? What was some of the main challenges you might have had over the last few years?
So there's no light without darkness, so it's always out there, and you always have to look for, there's a saying, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Not sure if I said that right, but you can never experience good without the bad. It was always there, especially at the beginning. It was like, when we had to make a decision, well, it wasn't really a tough decision to make because we had to legally, register for VAT. There was, the first issue, if, what happens if the clients will not accept the price? We'll register for VAT, and then all of a sudden we'll lose like 50% of the clients, and they'll go elsewhere. So there are things that were there with especially we never had staffing problems, especially before Brexit, because my mom worked on a deal with students in Poland, especially, but obviously it's it's like a big network of people, especially that Poland has started to attract more international students as well. So there are students from all over the country, and we had, whenever the season was approaching, my mom would always reach out to the trusted people in Poland, and then we would always have someone working in here, and just get them in, house them for the duration of 7, 8, 9 weeks, however long they wanted to come in for, and we would have staff there. In terms of cash flow, obviously, as every new startup, every new business that is out there, and the owner is by himself, it's like there are stages to it, and if you have a team, like a small team, it's very easy to look after, and that your monthly outgoings are, say, 10 grand, and you've got 20 grand coming in. So, you're doing good.
It's easy maths, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas right now we're at a stage that the maths isn't that easy.
Yeah.
And sometimes the maths isn't muffin.
Yeah.
So you have to have like several things in place, several people in place to be able to work on that. It's when your wages are coming in, and at the same time as the VAT bill and the pay bill, and it's all of a sudden everything is in one day, basically. That's where it's starting to be a bit more complex. But I never wanted easy in terms of I'll just be done. I always wanted complex, and because that's what essentially gave me, the feel of fun, and the feel of, having it value. In terms of actually of the old cash flow problems, yes, during COVID, because our revenue sort of slowed down pretty much 95%. However, even though we service hospitality sector, we weren't deemed as a hospitality business by the government or the local councils.
Right.
So we still had to pay rent on our warehouse. We still had to pay business rates, everything,
So
everything
you
that
get
was.
no breaks at all during that.
No. So getting out of the sort of debt during COVID was quite a lengthy process, but we did manage. We got through that, and we're here today to continue growing. So
yeah, and cash flow is something that obviously I go on about all the time. It's the lifeblood of the business. But as you get bigger, so many things can influence that. I mean, I was chatting to someone just before he came in who had £500,000 worth of business that didn't pay towards the last quarter of last year because they were all struggling. They went out of business. And that has a huge impact. If you've got a customer that pays you late or doesn't pay you at all, I mean, that is absolutely massive to any business. But it's one of the reasons why, certainly going forward, we want to dilute the size of the pie that some customers have across all businesses we work with, because it does minimise the risk. There's a lot more insolvencies nowadays than there has been for a long time, because people don't manage cash. They take out big debts, and you're not one of them, which is good. But there's so many things that affect cash flow.
Yeah.
So in terms of things you're looking to work on going forward, because you've got to this base level where, yes, there's challenges, but you're kind of steady and making money. Good loyal staff base. What is it you want to achieve going forward? Is it stuff like moving to different cities? Is it growing the business to a bigger state? Is it to exit the business? What kind of stuff have you got going on?
So essentially, I want to focus on expanding to other cities. And the ultimate goal would be to exit the business. That will probably happen in, say, 5 years' time. We're not at the stage that I could exit the business just now, just yet. And
why do you think that? I know the answer. Why do you think that?
Yeah, it's we're not at the stage that we started building the middle management team, and they are there. It's not not every single position is filled quite yet. So there is still some stuff that I need to chip in here, there, everywhere, but it's getting there. It'll probably, we will probably be at a stage of full middle management team by the end of this season, so around September time. So that's when I will be more don't like the expression hands off, because I'll still be hands on. I will be working on the business every day, but I won't be needed as much on a daily basis in it, in terms of, making day-to-day decisions or whatever the issue might be. And quite frankly, I don't want to sell the business just yet, because there is still so much more that we can do.
You can see the potential.
Yeah. That will give us a better head start in the longer run, in terms of all the other different options. Because as you mentioned earlier, every single business can be our client, and quite honestly, that is the truth. There's no other way.
Well, every commercial property, every business needs cleaning services. Now, they can do it internally. They can have their own cleaner. They can, the owner might be getting the Hoover out and doing stuff, right? But most businesses of a certain size need your services, or businesses like yours. And then the maintenance part, I mean, if they need a refurb in the office, if they need, if people need a bathroom, a kitchen, if they need doors getting fixed, if they need heating getting fixed, there's so many different things that you guys can help with. So yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So, and that's where it was something that I haven't really looked into it. It's like not even thought about it, but it was in Edinburgh. It was pre-COVID, and I saw a van. I can't even remember what it was, but it was driving around with In Her Majesty's Service logo at the side of it. And I was like, how cool would that be to actually have that at the side of, on our website, on our vans driving around and being in His Majesty's Service. As I say, I never really thought about it, so I have no idea whether or not it's even possible to do. But yeah, just one of these things that are there, and I never really had the chance to revisit that, to look into it. So there's so much more. There's so much more potential, so many things that can be done in order to have a unique product, unique service. It's not really about building services and that, but it's something that really stands out.
Yeah.
And as we've spoken about many times before, it's about the personality behind the business as well. It's it's there. People, I had rumors, read comments online. People stopped buying Teslas because they don't really believe what Elon is standing for. But so one person can either boost the business or
Totally, and in this day and age, and that's why you're on this podcast, is to start speaking from the rooftops a bit more about you, because you've probably hidden behind the business brand for too long, so we're going to change that. But you're right, most businesses they have far less followers and engagement than the founder. So when you think of all the big brands out there, and there's much smarter people than me that have made this point before, but you mentioned Elon Musk. Elon Musk has got many, many times more followers than Tesla does, or SpaceX, or the Boring Company. Richard Branson's got more than Virgin. Bill Gates more than Microsoft. Ronaldo more than any club he's ever played for.
Yeah.
In fact, I think I've seen a stat that Cristiano Ronaldo's got more followers than all the Premier League clubs put together.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah. It's but then again, it's about how people actually present themselves. Like, talking about Ronaldo, he was always out there and doing stuff for himself in terms of branding himself. When it comes to Richard Branson and all the Elon Musk, all the other people that you've mentioned, is these are people that did have the guts to do what they essentially wanted to. They wanted to build big businesses, and they went out and did it, and that's where people started listening to them as well, because it's not it's not really easy, and people like listening to success stories, and but there's still people. So there's no difference in terms of they still walk around the same streets, they still breathe the same air, eat the same food. There's still people.
And all these successful people, they've all had failures along the way, but it doesn't define them. They take them and they turn them into successes. And every single successful person has had multiple failures.
Yeah.
Everybody. And the thing that you're starting to do, put yourself at, at the end of the day, people buy from people. And it means that, for any of these people we just mentioned, if they go and start a new business tomorrow, they can instantly get, in a totally different sector, they can instantly get traction.
Yes.
And that, whilst you and I are nowhere near the level of those kind of guys, the same applies. If we have an audience that trusts us, knows us, likes us, believes in what we stand for, then they will follow into a different venture. So that's the reason that we're trying to build your personal brand, because you might not want to do what you're doing forever. The fact you're talking about selling the business in the future, you're still a young guy. So let's say you sell it in 5 years' time. You've still got a long time of business and life in front of you. So you might want to do something completely different. But by that time, 5 years will definitely have grown your audience by quite a considerable amount. But you can then go into something else with the backing of, people trust you. They're going to believe in your next venture. They're going to invest time and effort and money into what you're doing. So, yeah, you're definitely on the right path with that. And starting on podcasts like this is the first step.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, this is the very first podcast that I am taking part in. But it
wouldn't be the last.
Thank you for having me. And it's not really a difficult thing in terms of I know that we're not having a presidential election debate in here, so it's not like we have to remember the script and everything. But it's, in terms of actually being on a podcast, it's way easier than I would have ever imamed.
We're not finished yet. I've still asked you some good questions.
No. I'm not saying that we're finished yet.
The hard ones are coming.
Yeah. Just saying that in terms of actually being on a podcast, it's a very, very nice experience to be.
Yeah.
To be honest, I sort of when you invited me, I was like, well, okay, how do I do this? What's going to happen? But it's really rather, nice experience in terms of
it's all to do with the host.
Yes, I can imagine that. Yeah. Imagine sitting here with Joe Rogan. Yeah, it's
So some of the audience that we've got, right? Most of my audience certainly are business owners. Some at different stages. Some have, had successes and doing well for themselves. Others are maybe just starting out. If you had any advice for any startup entrepreneurs or business owners who are maybe in their first year and things are, quite difficult, they're struggling to get the right staff, they're struggling to get the right customers, they're struggling to make payroll. What kind of advice would you give that person to get them through that? Because that first year or two can be very difficult if you don't know what you're doing.
I think that the best piece of advice would be to actually get advice in terms of you are limited by the number of hours that you have in a day, and you still have to rest, and you still have to do all the things that someone needs. You cannot do everything by yourself. So if you are struggling, say, with meeting payroll, then you have to find someone that will be able to help you to tackle these issues and to tackle the gaps, the knowledge gaps. Because no matter how many books you will have read, no matter how many podcasts or how many courses you will attend, there will always be gaps, and there will always be an issue that you may not have ever come previously before. So I think it's Richard Branson that said that he will only employ advisors and he will only ask for advice people that have got through that issue before. So, if someone is struggling with something, then go out and find someone that you can trust, and then ask them for advice and then get them to help you. So it's pretty much the same way as when I approached you guys, in terms of I knew that we are at the stage that I want to build the business further. How do I do that? I've never done it in my life. So I approached Jamie, and then we started chatting and discussing everything. And you've helped me put systems in place to be able to produce our own systems, if that makes sense. And that, if I hadn't done that, then I would probably be still in the same place where I was when we first had the conversation.
Yeah.
So it's like you cannot be left alone.
Yeah.
Because that's what will kill most businesses.
It's a good point. It's a theme of the podcast itself really is, getting the right mentor, getting the right expert. And that might not be us, by the way, it could be somebody completely different, but it's very important to recognise your flaws, recognise you're not, and we're all the same, you're not great at everything. In fact, a lot of the staff you bring in are better at that thing than you are.
Yeah. And
bring them in. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but one of the other things that is really important when we're working with people is it helps people be held accountable. You've had a great business, got a great business, but ultimately you're accountable to yourself at that point, and you maybe didn't have anyone pushing you. And are we thinking big enough? Are we moving fast enough? Yeah. Is that the right thing? Sometimes just having the right accountability around you, because business is a lonely process,
Yeah, and on that point, it's when you have a team around you, that's why when there's a big business, say Microsoft, Bill Gates doesn't run it. It's got a board of directors, and that are accountable for each different position. That's why you've got your CFO, your COO, your CEO, all these different titles, but they're not just titles. That person is responsible for each different part of the business. Yep. And see, if we speak about CFO, it's basically Chief Financial Officer, and then they are responsible for the finances. But then again, they are not there on their own. They are there to make sure that the business is going in the right direction. But there is team of people doing other things, and the board of directors are there. And if a CFO has an issue, or CFO was meant to produce the financial reports but they've never done it, that's where the accountability kicks in. And it's pretty much the same on every single level. It's like, if you're talking about, say, football, school football team, like not everyone
can be Ronaldo. We got a few Gary Nevilles in there.
But at the same time, it's like you've got that, and you've got you are the coach of that team, and you've got game coming up against a team from other side of the city, and you want to win, but you haven't done anything for the past 3 months, no coaching, no classes, no nothing. And then you go into there and, you lose the game. And it's like, you only have yourself to blame because you really didn't do anything. Whereas with the accountability, it's like, okay, our goal is to, do in the next 3 months, do 30 grand of sales. And then, you've got a team of
a target
people.
to hit. Yes.
And then, it's you can then be like, say, it's 2 people doing this, so it's 15 grand each. And then you keep pushing yourself as well. It's like, okay, we've got 3 months, 15 grand each. I've done 10 grand this month. You did 5 grand. So yeah, let's get you back up.
And it comes down to simple things like so many business. When you start out in business as a business owner, you need to wear all different hats at the same time. But when you get to a certain level, and actually when I say that, the world's becoming a smaller place. So nowadays you can outsource things to somewhere else in the world for relatively cheap and get good quality. But when it comes to noticing your skill sets, it might be something like I'm making this up, sales or marketing, right? And you're not getting enough sales or marketing, you're not getting enough leads coming into the business. Okay, we want to get 5 new clients each month, right? What's the steps behind that? What's the daily steps, weekly steps that are going to achieve that? Because it's okay having a goal, but you then need to break it down. So what does that equate to? It means we need to phone up 10 new people every day. Okay, where are we getting that from? We're getting that from an email list. We're getting it from some kind of database. We're putting out content every day. We're doing all these daily tasks that will eventually allow us to hit that bigger goal. And you can track that. One of the key things that we need to be doing in business is putting KPIs in place. So if your staff member needs to have, again, making this up, needs to phone 50 people every day. If they've only phoned 30 people each day and you're not hitting your target, well, there's the gap there. We need to increase that call amount. So KPIs and metrics, the boring stuff, the actual repetitive stuff is actually what makes the boat go faster. And we all have different levels of success in that, and it's important that we recognise that's the things you need to work on. So, Wojtek, I'm just checking the clock here. Yeah, we're kind of thereabouts. So, as we finish up, last kind of couple of questions. If people want to work with you, obviously you can do a variety of things for business owners and less so residential customers. You want to do more B2B, but what's the best way for someone to get in touch with you?
Website and our phone number. You can always email.
What is the website?
It's bnbpropertyservices.com. And our email address and the phone number are on the website, and you can get in touch. We'll always answer and get...
And from a personal point of view, what's the best way to contact you directly if they want to carry on the conversation?
LinkedIn, yeah. It's getting a bit busy out there as well, but that's the best way. I don't really use anything else, LinkedIn or my personal/business email address, but it's the best way to get in touch with me.
Awesome. Well, Wojtek, it's been great having you on. I think the audience will get a lot of value from that. And yeah, if anyone needs any of Wojtek's services, reach out or reach out to me and we can make an introduction. But it's been great having you on, mate. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
No problem.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode. As always, guys, if you found value from this, please remember to hit subscribe and share with someone who might get value from it. If you want to carry on this conversation, the best places to find me are at Stephen Pettigrew Investor on LinkedIn and also on our brand new website, monopolycapital.com. I'll see you soon.